In today's video, I'm putting together my New Year Folio. I designed this kit to help you document resolutions or intentions or goals, whatever your word for that is. And it has plenty of inspiration as well. This can be a standalone project or you can add it to an existing junk journal. Welcome to another Phantom Charm Studios tutorial. My name is Tammy. I filmed this right before New Year's Eve, but I don't think we'll be able to get this video up until January. I hope it's not too late for anyone still looking for a way to hold any aspirations or plans for 2026. I've already cut out all of the pieces because it's just easier to do that before I start filming, so I don't have all of the printouts to show you. But this kit is available on Etsy. I'll leave a link to our Etsy shop, which is also called Phantom Charm Studios, in the description box below. You'll find all of the details and more images in the listing if you're interested. These pockets will go on one panel of the folio, and the other panel will have these 6 different waterfall flaps. There is a sheet of die cuts you can add. There are journaling cards that slip into the double-sided flip pocket. There are 3 different cover options, along with all the words, definitions, tickets, and tags you see here. Let me clear off my desk, and I'll put this folio together for you. The first thing that I need to do is add score lines on the cover of my journal. If you don't have a scoreboard like this, no worries, it's not required. Just fold the cover in the same places that I'm adding my score marks. I did want to show you real quick that I printed one of the pattern papers included in the kit on my back cover. I also did this on some of the ephemera pieces with the lined paper in the kit. You will want to do this double-sided printing prior to cutting any of the pieces out. Once you start fussy cutting, you're not going to be able to print on the backside of the paper. So go ahead and decide which pages you want to print on both sides and print everything before you cut. I printed my folio and all of the pieces on premium cardstock. When I use cardstock, I find that if I score the paper, it folds better for me. When I fold the waterfall flaps later on, I won't use the scoreboard, so I'll show it to you both ways. If you're new to junk journaling printables like this, wherever you see these darker lines down the page, that typically means it's a score line or a fold line. When you see the flaps, that also indicates a fold line, which I'll show you in a moment. I'm not using the numbers across the top as measurements here. All I want to do is line up the line where I need to score with one of the grooves in the scoreboard. The measurements at the top do not correspond with where I need to score. Where I'm scoring now in the middle will create a 1/4 inch spine in the cover. I need the score line here, and when folded, this 1/4 of an inch spine will give us room to add all of the pockets and tags and pieces inside the folio. I'm going back over each line to make sure that I have a good score line, but since this paper is not super thick, I'm not being heavy-handed. If you push too hard, you could rip the paper. Here's the double-sided flip pocket, and I'll add the score line down the center between the 2 sides of the pocket. And with this one, you can see that I'll use the scoreboard to score the flaps for the pocket as well. Whenever you see these angled flaps, you'll want to fold on that line, so I'm scoring these 2. And this is all I will need the scoreboard for, so I'll set this aside once I score the pocket. I'm going to fold on all of the score lines that I just created, and this will form our folio. You want to go ahead and do this before you start assembling anything inside the folio. If you have a bone folder, go ahead and burnish your folds to make sure that you get a nice sharp crease. If you want to ink the edges of your project, now is the time to do that. I am using Tim Holtz Oxide ink in Black Soot. Just use your favorite color. I'm going to fold all of the score lines and go over all of the outside edges with the Oxide ink. Back to the waterfall cards. We call them waterfall because they will be glued in succession to create a layered effect. Once I folded and burnished each of the flaps, the folded side of the flap will get glued down so that the cards will flip up. I'm also inking the edges of all of these cards. I wanted to mention that included in the kit is also a page with grid lines if you prefer them over journaling lines. You can print that on the back instead, or you can print one of the other patterns or leave it blank. You make it your own. I may add a photo or two to one of these cards, but my intention for this folio is to keep track of all the things I'd like to make happen in 2026. So I wanted journaling lines on the backs of my cards. I'm doing the same thing with this double-sided flip pocket, folding on the score lines and inking all of the edges. If you don't do a great job of folding the score lines and you see some of the flap underneath, the ink is great for blotting that out so that it's not so noticeable. The flap on the bottom of this pocket will get folded inside the pocket, and the flap at the side will get attached to the panel inside the folio. I just folded both in here to make it easier for me to ink the edges all the way around the pocket. And that's where we'll start gluing down the pieces with this double-sided flip pocket. I'm grabbing my Fabri-Tac glue, which is my favorite glue for putting journals together. I love it because it's not water-based and it won't warp the paper. I'm adding glue to the bottom flap first. This flap will close the bottom of the pocket while giving it a bit of room inside to allow for the journaling cards to slip inside. I'm also adding glue up the side to close the rest of the pocket. I'm only adding glue on the pocket, not to the flap. The flap will get glued to the folio, so leave that alone for this step. Make sure to stay on the pocket side away from the flap fold line. I'm pressing down along the bottom of the pocket and on the side to make sure the glue is adhering. I'm also wiping away any excess, and then while the glue is still wet, I'm going to try to line up the sides of the pocket better. If you have any edges that don't align perfectly, and if you're fussy cutting, that's going to happen often, you can just ink over any white edges that bother you or remove that white part you don't like with scissors. These are journaling cards that fit into this pocket, and I'm just making sure here that I didn't glue too far into the pocket, and it looks like my cards fit just fine. I do want to give you a quick tip about this pocket. Before you glue it into the folio, squeeze the sides of the pocket to work the opening a bit. I'm not doing this on camera, but I noticed that once I glued the pocket down, my pocket wanted to stay flat and I was having a hard time sliding the cards in and out. If you just work the pocket a little bit and squeeze the sides to expand the opening a bit, that will help the journaling cards slide in and out of the pocket better. This pocket is going to flip back and forth in the middle of the folio. I want to glue it down to the cover first, and then these two other pockets will glue down over the top to cover the flap. I'm actually going to glue down the pocket with the mask over this flap, and then I'll move the dark blue pocket to the top of my folio. I picked up the cover and I'm just making sure to note where the spine is. When I glue down the pocket, I'll need to stay away from the spine. If we glue something over the spine, the folio won't work right and it might not close. It's hard to see this on screen, but here I'm just pointing out to pay close attention to where you glue the pocket down, keeping on the panel side away from the spine. As I mentioned, after we glue this pocket down, there are two other pockets that go on the panel and they will cover up that flap. I'm going to grab my ink applicator tool and lightly ink over the spine on the inside of the journal so I can see it better. It will help me see the spine and then I'm not going to make a mistake when I attach the pocket. Feel free to add this ink on the inside of your folio if that will help. You can also ink all of the edges on the inside if you want. So now that I can see the fold line, I'm going to glue the pocket down on the cover away from the fold line that I just inked. I'm adding glue to the flap next to the crescent moon image. It's important that the glue is on that side of the flap and not on the other side. When I place the flap on the panel of my folio, I'm folding over the pocket to make sure it glues down so that the pocket will flip back and forth. I'm also double checking that the spine of the folio is clear and I can still close the journal. The position of the pocket is up to you. It doesn't have to be towards the bottom where I placed it. Just keep in mind that the intention is for the larger journaling cards to live inside the pocket. If you place the pocket closer to the top of the cards may peek over the top of your folio. Everything looks good, so while that dries, I can add these other pockets. You can place these in whatever order you want, but the way I designed it was for the darker pocket to be on top and the mask pocket to be on the bottom. My vision was for tags to be placed in the pockets, so if you put the mask on top, it'll be covered up a bit by whatever you put in the pocket. Most digital kits like this are mix and match, and you're free to fill the folio however you want. I'm going to start with a mask pocket. I'm adding a thin bead of glue around the sides and the bottom of the pocket. I will place this down on the folio panel with a small margin on the left side, covering the flap. I'll butt this up against the other pocket with just a tiny margin in between. The rest of that flap will get covered up when I add the other pocket. And I just realized I should have glued down the blue pocket first. I'm lifting up both sides of the mask pocket before they're dry. I'll glue down the blue pocket and then I'll be able to press the top sides of the mask pocket over the top. When I add the glue to this darker blue pocket, I'm only adding it along the sides and keeping the bottom of the pocket open. That way, you'll have a full length of the panel if you want to add a longer journaling card to the pocket. If you glue the bottom of that top pocket, you'll only be able to add shorter tags and cards. I probably should have moved the blue pocket down just a tiny bit and then you wouldn't see the bottom edge through the notch in that mask pocket. I see it on camera now, but I didn't notice that when I was putting this together. Next, I'm going to add the waterfall cards. There are 6 different cards, and one of them says Happy 2026. If you want that 26 card to be on top of the journal and not covered up, it needs to be the first one you glue down. I wanted to mention that because I'm doing something different. I will end up gluing my Happy 2026 card on the bottom of my stack. I'm going to add a photo under the card from early January. I'll start my journaling at the bottom of the stack and move my way up throughout the year. By adding the Happy 2026 card at the bottom, you won't see that banner at all. Again, set your cards up in whatever order you want. I wanted the hourglass card to be at the top of my stack, so that's the one I will glue down first. I'm just putting these in reverse order for now, and I'll take the cards from the back of the stack when I glue them down. I'm adding glue to the back side of the folded flap, and I will glue this down at the top of the folio panel with a small margin. Here's what it should look like: a small margin at the top. And if you glue down in the center of the panel, you'll have plenty of room on both sides away from the fold lines in the spine and the cover flap. I know I mentioned this earlier, but I printed the journaling lines on the back sides of the ephemera pages with these cards. If you have another way you want to use these waterfall cards, you don't have to print anything on the back. You can leave them blank or print one of the other patterns. You could even decorate the backs of the cards with tags or fussy cuts. Grabbing my next card, I'm going to add this flap up against the flap of the hourglass card. Adding glue to the flap, I'm pushing the flap flush against the other flap, making sure that when the cards are down, the side edges line up. It's not going to be perfect. If you fussy cut the cards, the lines can be off. And sometimes when we fold flaps, we don't always get the lines straight. I figure if the cards align at the sides, I don't care if the flap is glued down at a crooked angle. As long as everything looks good from the front, I'm good with it. And I'm going to repeat this process and glue each of these cards down, making sure as I go that all of the cards align at the sides and look straight from the front. I will leave a link in the description box below to our Etsy shop if you want to check out this kit. There are 17 pages in total in 8.5 by 11-inch formatted JPEG files. We also have a coupon code exclusive for YouTube that you'll get 35% off your order if you buy 2 or more items. You'll find that code in the description box. You do need to type the code YT35 off at checkout to get that deal. I also wanted to mention that we're on Ko-fi. That is the only place I'm currently offering freebies. I haven't updated Ko-fi recently, but I do have a new freebie coming soon that will go with our winter solstice junk journal kit. So check us out on Ko-fi, follow us over there, and feel free to download our freebies. We are not doing a newsletter, so I'm only using the post tab on YouTube and our Ko-fi page to make all of our shop announcements. All of my waterfall cards are glued down, and now I want to talk about the journaling cards meant for the flip pocket. These cards for me will be the main intentions that I have for 2026. And there are two cards that you can track two different things. One could be a personal goal, and the other could maybe have family plans for the year. I'm gluing these cards together back to back so that I have one card showing on each side. Gluing these cards together also gives them a little additional stability for sliding in and out of the pocket. If you don't glue them down, you'll have more journaling room on the back. And you can always print this page multiple times and change these out later in the year to track new goals or intentions. Included on one of the ephemera pages are the words aspirations, resolutions, intentions, plans, and goals. These labels fit perfectly inside the blue box at the top of the journaling card. The idea being that you'd select from these words, add a word to the top of the card, and then journal on that card what you're tracking or thinking about. So, for instance, I'll select the word intentions for my first card here, and then I'll have room to journal on the card what my intentions for 2026 are. And I also like the word plans, so I'm going to select that for my second card. And if you don't like any of these words, and that's totally okay, I do include a bonus page in the kit with labels that you can use to add your own words to. So if you choose a word every year and you want to be able to journal about why you picked that word, you could add the blank label, write your word on it, and use the card for that purpose. I'm going to glue down the label that says intentions for my folio, and then I'll glue down the word that says plans on my second card. So my intentions might be health goals that I intend to accomplish in 2026, and my plans might be adventures that my husband and I want to plan for the year. I wanted to give you lots of options to mix and match and make this folio whatever you want it to be. And once I journal my intentions and plans, I can slip my journaling cards into the flip pocket, and that's where they will be. On the ephemera sheet, you'll also find all of these tags. There are a bunch of other words here that you can add to the tags to track one of your single goals. Each tag has a different image, but they all have a blue box at the top. You can pick from all of the different words that I've included, or again, there will be blank labels that you can print and add whatever words you want. I'll just pick one here and show you that you can add a different word. Maybe one card is for a bucket list item. Maybe another card is a new habit you want to form. And there are other things like a yes list and a no list. If there are things that you want to invite in, or there are things you're trying to let go of, there's a to do list and a get organized label as well. I tried to keep a lot of the words and labels on one sheet so that you can print that sheet multiple times if you want to use the same word on multiple tags. Or you can use the blank labels and add your own word. Or you could even use a metallic or a white pen to write inside the blue box on the tags if you want to do that. There are so many different options for you to make this folio into whatever you want. These labels could also be added to the pockets. So the tags you're currently working on could go in one pocket. And once that goal is complete, you could move them to a complete pocket. And that gives you a visual cue of what you've already accomplished as you move through the year. Maybe this pocket could be a wish list, and you use the tags to write down a different wish on each one. So again, it's fully customizable. I went ahead and added a few words to a few tags. I added a ribbon at the top of one of the tags. You get to decorate these however you want, and there's a little bit of room on the back of each tag to add some journaling or whatever your specific goal is. I also included definitions that go along with each of the main ideas: goal, resolution, intention, plan, and aspiration. You could add the definition to a pocket or to a tag as a reminder. You can use these anywhere. I'm going to glue this one, the intention definition, here to the flip pocket. And here are some tickets with inspirational words and encouragement that you can embellish with. If you glue down the definition as a pocket, you could tuck in one of these tickets. I could go on, but I think you get the idea of how to put together this folio. I'm going to show you the closure that I'm using for mine, which is these little Velcro dots. I picked these up on Amazon. You can also find similar ones at Dollar Tree. I'm peeling off one of each side of Velcro, placing the dots on top of each other with the sticky sides out. I'll place this on my folio cover where I want it, and then I'll close the folio cover and press down the Velcro to glue it down to the cover panel. And that's how I'll keep mine closed. You can barely see the Velcro dots once they're glued down. And this is where I will call this one done. You can decorate the back too, but I'll leave that up to you. Thanks so much for crafting with me today. Check the description box for links to get more information about this folio. I'll see you in the next video.